Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today at the RecFest, talking about the talent acquisition competencies of the future. This is Ihab Abdel Hafiz. I'm the head of talent acquisition for Africa, Middle East, and Turkey at Johnson& Johnson. Before jumping into the topic of the day, I'd like to give you a brief about myself. I'm a pharmacist by education who's born and raised in Egypt. Then I completed my studies in organization and business psychology with the University of Liverpool in 2019, and now pursuing my PhD in management with ESCP in France. I'm passionate about everything HR and talent, and that was the reason behind me moving into HR right after graduating. And I was really privileged to work in consulting, in telecom, in FMCG, and in healthcare, in ones of the biggest in those industries, which exposed me to lots of best practices that I would love to share some of them with you today. On a personal note, I love traveling, I love diving, and I love everything art as well. And this is my very little family. So I'm married to Sarah, and I have two little girls, Julie and Bella, and our newest family member, Milo, who is our beloved dog. So if we moved into like the competencies of the future for the talent acquisition organization, and I'd like to start with a quick story with you. Back in 2017, when I was working with my manager on building a global curriculum, learning curriculum for our talent acquisition function in my previous organization. And she asked me a question of what do you think are the like learning topics that we can share actually with our global team. And my question back to her was, what are we trying to solve for? And what are the skills that are very important for us as an organization that we would like to develop. And the question was very simple, but it actually triggered a conversation around our global TE competency model and a functional competency model for our organization that we will need to put together that can help us identify what are the gaps, and how can we address those gaps through a learning curriculum that we can put together. So um, what we put together is a functional competency model that can help you as a talent acquisition leader answer a few questions. Those questions are like, which capabilities are required to carry out the different TA jobs? So in the TA organization that you are overlooking, you have people who are covering entry level roles, you have people who are covering mid management roles, executives, university, and so on. So what are those capabilities? Are they the same? Are they different? And this competency model should be answering the question. The second one is, which capabilities do existing TA members possess? So once you identified what are the right skills that needs to be there, you will need to understand my own team members, what capabilities do they have, and what that they lack, that you will need to develop. And based on that, you identify what are the gaps, and afterwards you start to bridging those gaps. So just having this competency model as a starting point will help you actually not only making sure that the people are working against the right developmental priorities, but they can as well progress in the TA function within your organization. So we took a few steps back, and we decided that we would like to develop a T competency model that really answered those questions that I shared with you. And as a starting point, my starting point was basically researching what's existing out there, what are the different models that they are currently out there. And to my surprise, there were very, very few models back then. And I would imagine that this didn't really change because this was back in like end of 2017. Then the next step, once we looked at those existing models that they are out there, we started to research what are the TA skills that they are most valued by the business. For example, one of the TA skills that are very valued by business partners is business acumen. For example, this is the third top skill that hiring managers are asking for. So we started to look into what are those skills, and are they existing in those TA models or not? And if not, how can we incorporate them? And we had actually a couple of SME inputs, so some of the subject matter experts in the TA space. And I worked personally with Gartner at that point of time, just to get their insights and input about what's existing, what do you think from a research standpoint is telling us. And then we put this in front of TA thought leadership as well to provide their feedback. I designed the model, and then we did another SME validation, and we started to apply and continuously refine in order to make sure that it is meeting what we're looking for. So this is just like the journey for you to know how we built this together. It was not like an overnight process. It took few months to make sure that what you're building is not you're not just building for now, but you are really building for the future. And there has been few considerations that we looked at as well. So the first one is that how to make sure that this competency model is allowing progression within the TE function. And one of the challenges that I personally saw in the TE organizations, or like the TE functions, is that this progression is not really visible for the TA partners or for the recruiters who are working there. And they feel like that I'll join as a recruiter, I'll do a recruiter job, and then after a while I get bored and I would like to explore a different part of the HR functions. And this is specifically for the internal recruiters within the organizations that they have like a big internal recruitment teams. The second one is considering evolving skills and competencies, because the TA function, as we knew it like 10, 15 years back, is a completely different, I would say, from now, with the tasks and requirements that are coming along the way. So let's put something together, like for example, project management. So now the recruiters are not just recruiters, but they are working on projects to roll out, for example, a new technology, to roll out EVP activation, for example. And all those different projects that they're working on, they require different skill set rather than just finding talents, interviewing them, and placing them. And the last but not least is covering specialized capabilities beyond only operational recruitment. And in organizations where they have a big internal recruitment teams, you would find specializations like, for example, what we call it COEs, or Centers of Excellence, for social and digital, for technology rollouts, for example. And all those require different types of skills versus, again, as I mentioned, the ones that you would find in a normal operational recruiter role. So those were like some of the consideration of how to make sure that the model is progressing and it includes the skills for the future, as well as those that are beyond the operational recruitment. And this is actually the competency model that we put together. And I would like to spend like 10 minutes just to go through this model with you, and share with you like the thinking process and what are the different skills that we incorporated, that we felt like that they're very important for talent acquisition professionals in any organization. So I've actually refined the one that we developed like 2 years back, just to make sure that this is suitable for everyone who's watching me today, and making sure that they can just take this and like lift and shift into their organizations. So what we've done here, and if you looked at the slide, you will find there are different levels within the organizational levels for our recruiters or for our TA partners, and you will find the different functional competencies that we are looking at. The foundation for that is business acumen. So before talking about how you are interviewing candidates or how you are finding them and building pipelines, you will need to have the business acumen. You need to understand the business of your business and making sure that you are demonstrating this understanding in your day-to-day interactions and conversations with the business leaders. Once we have this foundational business acumen in place, there are few things that we started to look at. The first one is the process itself. What it is our process? What are our KPIs? What are the measures of success for our processes that we're having in place? And this is what we call it process understanding, moving into process excellence. So process understanding, which basically at the TA coordinator level, just understanding what are those processes are, making sure that they understand the metrics, and then at an entry level to a senior management role, process should be like it's a process excellence. It's how can we always implement the process in a way that adds value to the business. And from a specialized skills in SMEs that we call them the COEs, there is the process design and optimization. So there is lots of work that's happening in organizations now looking at what we call it like a hire to retire processes and focusing on experiences versus focusing on process steps. So this is what we call it process design and optimization. You will find skills within that for you to be able to design a process or optimize a process, remove non-value added work. There are lots of tools that they are out there, like for example, Lean Six Sigma, design thinking. So those different kind of capabilities you will need to build in order to be able to be in a position where you are optimizing or designing a process. So this is the first part, which is related to an existing process and how can you improve it in order to derive the right experience for your candidate as well as for your hiring manager. The second one is related really to the stakeholder management and um, how we can move from just relationship management at an entry level into a strategic influencer at more of a senior level. And the key difference is that it's not just like managing the relationship, which is you would imagine in like volume recruitment. I would like to make sure that I'm available. I am responding to the queries that the hiring managers are sharing with me, and I am answering their questions and so on, into a strategic influencer, into someone who really understands what is the plans of the business, how the business is evolving, how the business is growing, and what does that mean from a talent perspective, and how can we make sure that we persuade them, we influence them with the right data and analytics that they are existing in the market to influence the final output. So, for example, let's start with like we would like to grow in an e-commerce, for example, space, and this means that we will hire like 50, let's say, e-commerce professionals. Those 50 e-commerce professional needs to have X, Y, and Z skill. So with understanding of the market, with understanding of the dynamics in the market, I might come and say that, look, those skills that you are looking at are not realistic based on the current situation of the market that we are trying to hire at. So I think that we will need to tweak this a bit, to change this a bit, to develop something internally versus just exporting all those talents from the external market and so on. So these kinds of conversation are expected to happen at a senior level, and people need to demonstrate the strategic influence in their interactions with the senior leaders. If we moved into the blue portion or section of the model, this is really related to the pipeline management, the lead generation, and the candidate career coach, which is basically is your external relationship with the proactive or like the passive candidates and how to be proactive with them. And starting from lead generation, understanding what are the different channels that they are existing and which channels provide which types of talents that we're looking at. And then the second stage is basically how can you be really a pipeline manager? So how can I reach out to those candidates proactively, making sure that I'm keeping in touch with them, keeping them warm while I'm not having an active vacancy. But then once there is an opportunity, I re-engage with them and I really put them into an active hiring process. So moving them from a passive candidates into an active candidates. The one thing that you will need to add as a senior leader is how to be a candidate career coach. So moving this relationship with the candidates from just like again a recruiter candidate relationship into really you are their advisor when it comes to their career, making sure that you are presenting for them opportunities, but as well as saying that, look, this is not the right opportunity for you. So based on all my understanding of your profile and background, I think you would fit more nicely in X, Y, and Z opportunity. So these kind of conversations that happens with the candidates, that are really beyond just managing them as passive candidates in a pipeline. And then the second part is the interviewing piece. So the expectations from anyone who is a recruiter that they can really interview. So as an entry level recruiter, you will need to be able to do a behavioral based interview, understanding what are the or a competency based interview, how to ask the right question, how to predict future performance based on past performance and past behaviors, and using the STAR technique, for example. But then, as you grow in the talent acquisition function, the expectations from the organization should as well increase, and this goes beyond just their evaluation of their behavior using the STAR technique, but goes into fit evaluation, like would they really fit into our culture in the organization, which requires you understanding your organizational culture to start with. So would they fit into our culture? Would they fit into the team that we are trying to hire them within? Do they have the right motivations to not only to join the organization but stay with the organization as well? Because you as a recruiter, sometimes people say that my job ends at an offer acceptance stage, but really it should go beyond that, because you need to make sure that you're selecting a candidate who has the right motivation and right cultural and team fit, who will be joining but who will be staying as well and growing within the organization. And last but not least is at the senior level, you're expected to look at their potential as well, and going beyond only the role that you're hiring them for, but going into like their potential for growth beyond this role, within the function, within the region, within the even like globally, if you are hiring at a senior level. So this is like, again, as I mentioned, this is a progressive model. So if you are a potential assessor or a candidate career coach or a strategic influencer, it is by design you are doing the fit evaluation, the candidate interviewing, or the pipeline management and the lead generation. The last but not least in the operational recruitment space is the labor market expertise and data judgment. And this actually what will help you in either the candidate career coach piece or the strategic influencing piece. So those are like the competencies that will help you with the foundation to drive these conversations with the candidates and with the hiring managers. So if you don't really understand the labor market dynamics, you will not be able to influence a hiring manager whether they will need to go for those types of skills or those types of profiles versus different types of profiles. And at the data judgment level, this is not just looking at data and evaluating those data, but really can you input in order like working with HR analytics, for example, in order to build predictive models in terms of what are the right set of skills that can help us delivering that. And this is like very important as well with the process excellence piece, because there are lots of data that we have in our applicant tracking systems that we sit on, but we don't really build on those data. We don't really understand the details inside those data and build stories behind those data or based on those data. So this is really the data judgment. It's just going into like statistical analysis, going into building models, and making sure that those models can help you with refining your channels, refining your interactions with specific candidates, moving into adjacent skills versus the very obvious skills for the role in order to be able to fill roles at the end of the day. So this is basically the operational model for, or the operational recruitment model. The specialized skills is as important, but might be for either like the COEs who are working in a COE within the TA, or the TA members who are like maybe at the mid or senior level role that they are assuming expanded responsibility to drive projects or to optimize processes or to lead EVP, for example, activation. So as I mentioned, process design and optimization, it is really looking at the non-value added work, increasing experiences, having the hiring manager and the candidate at the front and center of the design. The second piece is the project management, and the project management is very important because it has elements of stakeholder management, it has elements related to change management, it has elements as well to timeline management, competing priorities, how to prioritize the work, and so on and so forth. And more we're seeing talent acquisition professionals being involved in leading projects, and this is definitely a skill that everyone needs to start building and honing. And last but not least, social and digital savviness, whether you are activating your EVP, or even if you are just like, we use LinkedIn on a daily basis, and we use different social and digital channels on daily basis to promote our organizations as well as to find talents. And having the social and digital savviness is very important for us to be able to maximize the usage of those channels and making sure that we are getting the most out of that. So while they are mentioned on the specialized skills and SMEs, I would imagine that more and more operational recruiters or like traditional recruiters will be really required to acquire those skills to a certain extent in order to help their organizations move forward. So I hope this makes sense to you. The This is just like how to put the TE competency model into action. Is that now you understand what are the different competencies, and the first step is basically running self-assessment for the TA teams, understanding where do they stand from their point of view in each and every skill, and then they start to share this with their managers, with their leaders, in order to validate, do we have the right like self-evaluation, self-awareness on where we are or not, and then building or agreeing on the strengths and opportunities, and make sure that they are embedded in the development discussions, and build action plans, whether those are on the job training, coaching, or learning offerings to be implemented in order to drive that. I'm trying to work on like a short book where I can actually put this model in, and creating definitions actually for those different competencies. So at the different levels as well, that they are generic enough that they can be implemented and lifted and shifted into any organizational easily, as well as this self-assessment that will come alongside with the book. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully it will come out soon, so you can just like look at it, and if beneficial, you can use it in your organizations as well. For the time being, again, I'm privileged to be part of the RecFest, and I'm really happy. Like contributing with like my knowledge and experience in such a great event. If you wanted to connect with me, this is my LinkedIn profile. Please reach out if you have any questions, or if you would like to chat around this competency model. More than happy to have a conversation with you. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, and looking forward to see you again in the upcoming events. Thank you.